Hey everybody, Rhadamant here. Thanks for tuning in to episode 12 of Dawn of Man. So last episode, we teched pretty much all the way up to the end, just leaving out the reinforcements that we will very, very quickly have. And what I'm going to try to do is round out the rest of the milestones to call this one complete, which is 100 people, which means we need housing. We need housing quickly, in fact. So let's go find some valid spots for houses. Ideally, I'd like them as close to the town center as possible, but given how tightly packed everything already is, I might not find a lot of valid zones that way. Although, if I lived in this village, I kind of want to live up here like a baller. Alright. Animal limits, thanks. I don't need to know that. So, one thing that I did change is I updated my game to 1.6, 1.0.6, I should say, which will, in turn, limit the amount of death and birth notices that I get. It will stop those from sort of occurring in high frequency, and also change some other little things. I'm not going to read you all the patch notes, but it will affect gameplay a little bit in that regard, which is kind of nice. Some quality of life changes in there. As far as huts go, I believe I've updated and upgraded all of my huts to roundhouses. I do have an outstanding warehouse, but that's not of high concern. Our food looks good. The workload is low. I don't really mind low workload. That way they can subsist and have fairly high welfare, and as a result, quite possibly encourage more people to move here if they know that you can move here and be a freeloader. Alright, let's go ahead and gather some stone. Gonna have a giant stone gather zone as we're trying to finish off the walls and build roundhouses and warehouses, all requiring stone, and the last stone zone we had just depleted. Okay, we have some bears nearby. Some rolling megalith. I don't think I'll be getting all 5 dolmen, but, that's a lofty goal. There's only, as far as I could tell, only a reasonable amount of megaliths to mine out on the map. Because once you try to mine one out much, much, much further, what will end up happening is your people will quite literally starve to death just trying to get that baby back. So there is a limit to how many megaliths you really should attempt to mine out and roll towards your base. When it causes people to go on a death march, you've probably reached your limit. Looking at my current stockpiles, I definitely need sticks. I'm back to requiring some sticks. So I've created a stick zone, made it nice and wide. Oh, there's a lot of sticks here. I can probably even shrink this down. And we'll have a lot of people gather sticks all of a sudden. Checking that workload. Still very, very low. It will spike back up at the end of summer, come autumn, when it's harvest season for a lot of stuff. So I'm not going to worry too much about making sure that we got tasks rolling. What I can do is build my first iron mine and keep mining out this beautiful, beautiful iron that I've got. I just got my 5th warehouse and a trader arrived. Let's see what you got. Your commission is high, so the likelihood of me buying a lot of stuff off of you is pretty low. One of the changes that the patch made is you are now able to buy stone off of traders, for instance. All right, and we're going to go and sell some of our older tools, phasing them out. Here we are delivering everything we need for the iron mine. And once we build that iron mine, that will be the last of the research we need, which is why I didn't even consider trading for science, or knowledge rather, because we're done. All right, so the gates, we will, actually, I'm going to upgrade one guard tower. The guard tower that's probably most likely to get shot first if raiders came, and then we'll upgrade the gates. Each guard tower will require some iron to upgrade. That is the cost, is wood, iron, and straw. And as you can see, while we're building these additional homes, our population is increasing, filling up those homes quickly, and then additionally, our capacity is going up because of all the stone that I'm investing in these roundhouses. So we have enough outfits for 95 people and homes for 95 people. We are ready for a population boom. And our food is nice and high because we started planting. The problem with doing barley only is spring and fall is really busy. But then the seasons, winter and summer, for peas is really not busy. So in a future colony, or settlement I should call it, what I might end up doing is taming cattle for their milk and meat, because they are very effective to supply food, more so than pigs or goats. Cattle are pretty great. And then putting equal amounts of grain and sort of peas and legumes, because that way the farming seasons are nice and balanced. And then, of course, trees fall somewhere in the weird harvesting only in summer, but you don't have to sow them. So, well, that is a big dog disease. Got to get my rabies shots, clearly. So looking at my guard towers on each gate has the upgraded guard towers, and let's go and reinforce our gates. Five gates, 5 and 15 towers. Our welfare is nice and high. As you can see, I just heard someone die of old age, but because of the 106 patch, it doesn't inform you when it's of old age. It also doesn't inform you of births either. So my population is going to fluctuate without actually me being informed. There might be a way to turn that back on, but I'm fine with it. But if you'd like it to be different, you can always tinker with it. This game, I gotta say, it does patch pretty regularly, so keep your eyes open for patches and read the patch notes of all the finite details that are included. So now we have gates of 750 strength and walls of 750 and towers of 950. So it will be a lot harder for raiders to just sort of waltz in and breach. I am definitely interested in buying your iron, so I don't have to mine it myself. I don't even have to sell you that much stuff to buy it. What if I bought your steel as well? Cool. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. I do have a nice surplus of iron and steel, and now we have an iron mine up and running. But any chance that I can buy charcoal and iron just to keep the tools rolling, I will. So this looks to be the last of the required wall. As you can see with all the carts and people. And I have a population max of 100. I also constructed this dolmen too. This corner of the map here could probably use a well. I don't know. Their closest well might not be that close. So I can drop a well back there. Alright, we gathered them sticks pretty good. Actually, truth be told, our wood is looking a little low. I'm very happy that trees regrow on their own, although sometimes they regrow in annoying places, because if I had to re-sow trees, that'd be pretty annoying. Some games require you to do that, where you have like a forester and a logger, and the forester puts the trees back and the logger cuts them down. Opposing forces and all. Alright, checking out my gates. I think each of my gate houses are complete now that this gate got constructed and the walls are built. I like the little details of these new walls don't have snow on them yet, and the older walls, of course, do, as it has snowed more recently. My welfare is pretty high. Don't know if I could get that much higher, although my food recently dipped. Doesn't hurt to keep, not that there are actually skills in this game. Oh, is this a bunch of people coming to join? Yes, it is. 4 people. It's rare that you get to see them walk in. Let's go into Primal Vision and queue up some hunting. Now, it just became spring, so there might not be that much game yet. Sorry, I know you're teeny, but I'm going to hunt you anyway. Just to improve our food situation. Although our peas are set to be harvested at this period of time. But if we look, we don't really have a pea surplus. Looking at our tools, yeah, we still have some bronze and iron, but we are slowly replacing it with steel. The picks, however, we definitely need to queue up. So what I'm going to do is, let's make some picks, queue them up, which could explain why we got behind on iron mining. However, I also buy a lot of iron, so that's less of an issue. Oops, I missed. Okay, Ms. Trader. There you are. Buy your iron, sell my axes and sickles. I'll buy your fish. And you know what? I'm going to buy some cattle. I'll buy 1. And I'll set my limits to include the cattle. So to do that, go into F4. We're going to limit the amount of sheep and increase the amount of cattle to 5. And that will be enough housing for them all. An adult female. And as you can see, much like how wool works, they can be automatically milked. And then here we go. We got some bison to hunt and some mufflon. I'm just looking at my food and not liking what I see. It dipped back down again because of the population I've been adding. Back here, these are boar. I'm looking for aurochs to make more cows out of. Or rather, capture, tame, domesticate. At this rate, I don't see a lot of aurochs, but that just might be luck of the draw. They're not, so to speak, in season. Wolves and bison. Oh, here's an auroch. But surrounded by bison, so it's misleading. Well, I don't need to necessarily worry about it. But yeah, adding some cow wouldn't be terrible. Food is rebounding a little bit. I'm a little worried about, yep, bison attacks. I was about to say some retribution because bison do fight back. Now, most of our hunters are teaming up with one another, and I'm not really having to micromanage them, which is great. It works for me. No, that's a little further. Alright, there's another iron mine. Oops, didn't mean to left click that, meant to right click that and dismiss it. Now, because of my lack of sickles, I guess what I could do is force make a bunch of sickles. I did sell a bunch of bronze ones, but now it's saying that my harvesting tools are limited, which will limit the amount of peas and barley and flax that I can get, which isn't awesome. So we'll work to replace those tools quicker. But as you can see, now that I'm harvesting my fields, my pulses are going up, or my peas, rather. I guess they're pulses, after all. Which can keep me nice and sustained. Okay, so we got a raider attack coming in. They are pretty far out. But because I had people pretty far out, we sounded the alarm pretty early. And these raiders are coming in probably in the worst corner that they possibly could. Now, normally, I don't shut my gates, but this time I will. Just so that you can see some proper defenses in action. We've got these raiders getting shredded by all of these guard towers. And I'm going to lock one of them in here with us. They're not likely to do very well running around in our base. So one dog died so far. Okay, so they did manage to destroy a single guard tower. And I think that's it. I don't think I really lost anything as a result, which is pretty cool. Other than a guard tower, which is expendable. Or actually, it wasn't even a guard tower. It was the downgraded version. And we should be able to pick over their gear automatically. I don't think I'll need to manually do it. But if I wanted to manually do it, just recycle whatever we see. Let's butcher the dog. Or the wolf. The barely domesticated wolf, to be honest. I like how the trader was coming to trade with all of this happening. Wow, you really don't have anything I'm interested in. I'll buy your flour. Trade you bronze spear, iron. I guess I want to keep my sickles because I have a kind of a lack of them. Alright, let's aim to buy as much steel as I can, just to make it easier to manufacture it. We have a lot of wool. Now, we did just get rid of a bunch of our sheep, or rather, we're queuing them to be slaughtered, so I don't want to necessarily sell all my wool. It's not something I'll have an abundance of. But there we go. There's a big old trade. Yeah, we didn't lose anyone in that. My welfare is high. My prestige is going up. Wow, that guard tower got built in like a blink of an eye. Alright, I guess it's time to have them all guard towers. So I'm double clicking to multi-select. Low on harvesting tools. Yeah, but I'm getting them. I'm manufacturing them. And new people just joined the settlement. Wonderful. We're getting pretty close to that 100-person milestone. Now, as you increase your population, of course, you're going to want houses, you're going to want clothing, you're going to want tools, and food. Those are, I would say, your needs hierarchy when adding people. Clothing and food first and foremost, because when you starve, I mean, oof, that's pretty bad. But clothing thereafter, because people aren't that happy or productive when not clothed, especially for the season. So that's something to look after too. Keep a close eye on that. Going to cut a few more trees. That is a common requirement of a large settlement. Wood, that is. Alright, we got those picks. We don't need a lot of miners. We bought a fair bit of steel, and that will see us through the next few tools. Each tool is just one steel, one stick. We have an extraordinarily high amount of sticks now. In fact, I will just go ahead and remove the work zones that I had for sticks, because we have hundreds, whereas before we had 1 or 2. And now we're starting to have iron mines, which, as you can see, there's iron stocked up. The iron gets plopped into the carts, and then the carts bring it home. Because of my high prestige, I'm also getting a constant influx of trade opportunities, which is pretty cool. All right, let's sell the bronze spears and buy some beer to balance the budget. There we go. A little extra beer should, my welfare is basically redlining at maximum. It is an indicator that I have mastered the normal difficulty and am not challenged by Continental Dawn, which is this scenario. I'm only 7 people shy of the milestone. And we have a nice surplus of bread and grain and meat and flour. Of course, our grain storage doesn't display that. Low on tools. Harvesting tools. At this point, I would say I have a pretty decent amount of sickles. Yeah, I know it's low compared to my total population, but it's not terrible. If I was to change this to 25%, I would stop getting the warnings. Actually, we probably only need 25%. 50% spears and 25% swords. For defenses, we're pretty heavily reliant on bows and watchtowers, so I'm not going to attempt to make that many swords, as they're useful, but limitedly useful if you have nice walls and a lot of bows. Alright, so this did in fact get mined out. And as you can imagine, when your colony starts to deplete all the resources locally, you're going to need to rely more heavily on horsepower and long distance trips and trading to get what you need. Because if you can't source it locally, of course, it takes a while. It takes, you know, you'll have to haul it in. It's kind of a pain. And here, as you can see, all the farmers. I know it looks like they're just poking holes in the ground, but they're planting seeds. And one new person joined. A singleton. Even though I'm working towards 100, I'm going to make sure I have housing to go over that amount in case I have a big uptick of people join. Looks like we're also waiting on a bunch of iron to upgrade these towers. Some of the gates are fully upgraded, but some are still waiting on that iron. Meaning I'm still on the market to buy it. So if I'm shopping around for steel, I might not want to just blindly trade off a lot of stuff, but there we go. I would have been able to solve the riddle of steel a lot sooner if traders would just offer it. But of course, what they're offering is tied to your current age. So because I'm in the Iron Age, they'll start to offer steel. You're not going to be offered it before you're able to manufacture it. It's just the way the game works. And we're just waiting on the last 6. Should not be too long here. Additionally, because we are waiting on iron to upgrade buildings, I'm going to temporarily set my bloomeries to iron only, just to get the last iron, because what's happening is we're using some of the iron we manufacture to then make steel, but the guard towers don't require steel. So we still have, as you can see, we're starting to construct them now. We still have 3 iron left for the remaining guard towers. Why 3 towers? There's no good reason. Depending on your difficulty, you might want more towers than that, or fewer, you know, if you're on easy. Oh, I had someone die of old age and I wasn't informed. So now I need 7 people. We're still working on it. Alright, let's get some sickles and picks. I'll just force the queue because I know what we need most. We use up our picks pretty quick, I assume. Alright, Ms. Oops. What you got for me? You really have nothing. You have charcoal and some grains. Alright. Very limited selection here. I don't mind buying charcoal, though. It's a lot easier than cutting trees down for it. Speaking of which, all of the trees that are close to the base, I am happy to clear cut. I even have a permanent tree cutting zone here, so all of these young trees, when they grow up enough, will automatically cut them. It does remind me, now that it is no longer winter, it's nice in the middle of summer, to look for aurochs to possibly tame for milk. So we got wild horses and... Yeah, we're just not finding a lot of aurochs. Plenty of stuff to hunt if I was into hunting. Given my current food, that's not that terrible of an idea. And what I could do is maybe set up like an automatic hunt zone, just so that I don't have to keep manually hunting. And I'll go ahead and do that. So let's do just that. Gonna have it be a nice large zone here, and here we'll send 3 people to each zone automatically and hunt anything that passes through. As you can see, there was a lot of people without work. My workload was low, so we're gonna have some mass hunting, which doesn't necessarily make it more efficient. It does make it a little bit safer because there's a lot of numbers to back me up. So if an Auroch tries to turn on me, the chances are there's like 5 hunters within, you know, a small radius that will back me up. Now that we've got the guard towers constructed, I'm turning steel back on so that we are able to turn the iron into steel. So you could see we actually stockpiled a good bit of iron. And despite having the horses for the carts, a lot of people still use sledges. In fact, so much so, I'm going to increase the amount of sledges I have. They're inefficient, especially inefficient compared to horse-drawn carts, but if people demand to use them, who am I to deny them their sledge? Maybe they're strength training. Although this looks a lot more efficient here. Just having the horse follow you. Well, I have a very lonely cow, and I haven't really... Oh, here we go. There we go. Let's get that tamed. 100% welfare. All right. Oh, 3 more people come to join me. I just spotted. Bring me up to 96. Then I need some births and fewer deaths, and we'll be all set. Although I don't know, one of them is an old woman. Having old people join you, 97, good. Having old people join you, we had a birth in there too. Don't worry, I can do math. It's less ideal. Adults are more productive than old people. Yep, you heard me. I'm being ageist. No, that's just the way this game works. It sort of stopped yakking at me about harvesting materials, so I'm obviously satisfying something. I think what's really happening is the tools are probably being used up faster than we're constructing them, which means I could just get another blacksmith out here. I'll just have it set up right next to the old blacksmith, and maybe having the extra blacksmith will kick this into gear. And then I can also likewise set up another bloomery. Come on, child. You're okay. I'll set the bloomery here. Or maybe I'm trying to find a nice logical spot for it. That's gonna have to do. Alright, 2 blacksmiths. Now they'll compete and work faster. If only the game worked that way. Looking at my cow population, obviously we tamed a bunch of that cattle. So now we're going to start to see milk accumulate, which is nice. And then any of the excess population will be slaughtered, and cows offer a lot of meat, which is also pretty handy. Although I do see that we have a lack of tannin, so I'm going to set a zone up for that in just a second. Yeah, not a lot that I want on that. So tannin is a leather production material. dry skins are turned to tannin. All right, so these cows, although I will exceed my population taming them, we'll go and tame/hunt. So as you can see, 2 are being captured right now. But now here comes the hunters. Now, because I have steel tools, I'm much better at hunting aurochs than I was ages past, because I can definitely kill them off a lot quicker. My iron is accumulating pretty quickly. I've been buying it like it's going out of style, and as a result, I have quite a lot to quite a lot of backlog. I am 2 population away due to some natural births from the goal of 100, and then this tutorial series will end. With that said, if you have any questions about Dawn of Man, or any of the gameplay mechanics that I covered, or really anything at all, feedback or suggestions for future playthroughs, drop me a line, because I am receptive to comments. In fact, I will reply to you. Fancy that, right? So now I'm just waiting for the... Oh, you know what? We don't really need mortars anymore, do we? We have our beautiful water mill. Having traditional mortars serves not much of a purpose. Which in fact opens up this nice little spot here. Not that I'll probably get around to constructing a dolmen there. Oh man, right when I'm about to hit the population that I'm seeking, we've got a raider attack. Hopefully no one dies. As you can see, they're killing people out that just didn't get home in time. And I'm going to do a little bit of manual combat, where I have my... Okay, they weren't sure about what gate they were coming into. So as a result, what ended up happening was they split. Okay, I think we're good. They popped some walls, they popped a tower. And 1 guy. And somehow my population didn't decrease. I think in the middle of that, some poor mom gave birth to someone. Maybe he'll name it War Baby. Alright, I'll buy 1 iron just for you to go away. Also appears like there are gaps in my walls now. They destroyed some weird pieces of the wall. Which I have to MacGyver back together. Alright, we're starting to get a big surplus of iron and not a lot of steel, so I'm going to have these 2 bloomeries focus solely on steel until we get through the backlog of iron, because I'm not using iron for any reason. And crossing our fingers that we cross this 100-person threshold that we've been flirting with for a while now. We have, however, managed to keep our food up and our welfare very high, which is great. Now, if you were wondering what I would do differently in future playthroughs, I probably would aim... Oh, we have hit the 100. So that segues perfectly into what I was about to say. Let's roll credits and say, if I was to change what I would do about this starter tutorial settlement, if you're wondering what I think I've done wrong, I would probably have equal parts winter crops and summer crops, meaning fields of barley and fields of peas of similar size, so that my farmers can work in all seasons. And then, of course, trees, a lot of fruiting trees, probably outside of the walls because they don't necessarily need to be inside the walls. Other things I might have done better is to maybe not sell off old tools for trade so that we don't have tool deficits. One of the issues I ran into is a constant tool deficit. It doesn't hurt to have multiple blacksmiths or crafters going at a time. So anything that is starting to bottleneck, you can always fix the bottleneck by adding more throughput. If you have any questions for me, please drop me a line. And I think I have enough responses to see a hardcore, more difficult playthrough of Dawn of Man, so you can look for that in the coming days. So thank you all very much, everyone that has been giving me feedback and suggestions and tuning in twice a week to this series, and I hope you tune in to the next one coming out soon. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this series. Adios.